In the mid-20th century, in a certain country, a severe famine ravaged the land, causing people to die like flies, and the survivors to live like ghosts. In this desolate society, at that time, there was a young man named William. He was a simple laborer living with his elderly mother in the village of Elderhaven. Due to his unattractive and rough appearance, despite his mature age, William had not yet found a wife. William was a very gentle and cheerful man. He often joked with the children in Elderhaven whenever he returned from work, bringing a lively atmosphere to the otherwise bleak neighborhood every dusk. However, lately, due to the onset of famine, none of the children were in the mood to greet William when he returned from work. In the dim twilight, they either sat listlessly or stood by the roadside, lacking the energy to move. Amidst the scene of the small and gloomy village succumbing to hunger. One day, the residents saw William returning with a woman. His face carried an unusual and radiant expression. Throughout the journey, William chuckled to himself, and his eyes sparkled. The woman walked behind William about 3 or 4 steps, carrying a small basket in her hands. Aria's head was always bowed, an old hat tilted to partially obscure half of her face. Anyone in the Elderhaven village who caught sight of William and the woman shuffling towards the dock whispered and speculated. They understood the underlying connection between William and Aria. However, before they could rejoice for the young man, the grim current circumstances led them to offer different assessments. Amidst hunger and poverty, instead of celebrating the couple's happiness, people had to prioritize concerns about survival. Similar to the commentary of a villager from Elderhaven upon witnessing the figures of William and Aria fading into the distance, "Oh dear." In this situation, Hiaslo brought back the other debt. Can they even sustain each other through this period? Hearing this question, the residents of Elderhaven fell silent. Because, they had the same question with themselves, wondering if they could endure and survive. Amidst the struggles of everyone here with their bleak lives, only Aria and William were patiently awaiting the return of his elderly mother. At this moment, William still couldn't believe that now he had a wife. This wife arrived due to a few casual words of his, and even William himself didn't anticipate that they would become husband and wife. The story began with William's job of renting out his ox cart. Every time he pulled the cart through the warehouse, he saw a group of girls waiting there. With famine rampant, they lingered in this crowded place, doing any work available. If someone called for help, they would do it, and if not, they sat waiting to pick up a few grains of scattered rice, at least surviving another day. Once time, while straining his back pulling the ox cart up a steep slope, perhaps to alleviate the fatigue, William shouted,
"Who wants a meal for a few meat? Come here and push the cart with me."
William's intention wasn't to flirt with any of the girls sitting in the distance, but the girls kept pushing this particular girl forward, giggling mischievously. Perhaps, if it weren't for the circumstances of famine, no one would think William's proposition was genuine. However, amidst the dark and deathly sky like this, a seemingly casual remark was enough to instill trust in people. After the girl helped William push the cart, a few days later, they encountered each other again. However, at this point, William no longer recognized the girl, because Aria looked emaciated and much more worn. Hearing the teasing tone in Aria's voice, as she asserted that she deceived by him when they met at the provincial market entrance, William invited Aria to eat rice cakes to make up for the promised meal of plain rice from a few days before. After devouring a couple of bowls of rice, Aria, recalling suddenly, told William that she was worried about his wife noticing the shortage of money because of the 4 bowls of rice she had just eaten. However, William just laughed in response.
"I have no wife." "Just kidding, but if you want to come with me, carrying goods on the cart, and let's go together."
Once again, a statement born from William's playful banter, but the girl believed it to be true. And so, Aria followed William as his wife, both standing on the border between life and death in the midst of famine. Breaking free from the recollection, at this time, William's elderly mother had returned. Similar to the residents of Elderhaven, Mildred, William's mother, was shocked, surprised, and worried when she saw her son bringing home a stranger woman. But then, she understood the countless circumstances, feeling a mix of resentment and pity for her son's fate. Oh, people get married, they holds a lavish party to make them proud. As for herself, in the corners of her eyes, tears welled up, wondering if they could endure and survive this period. She sighed softly as she stood up, gazing intently at the woman. Arya lowered her head, her hands tracing the edges of her tattered dress. Mildred looked at Arya and thought, when people face hardships, poor like this, that's when they bring someone into their lives. And her son has just found a wife. Well, it's a mother's duty, she couldn't worry about her child. Maybe if they get through this tough period, her son will have a wife, at least he'll have some peace, unless fate decides otherwise, and they have to endure it all. So, the old lady reluctantly accepted that unfamiliar daughter-in-law. During the first meal welcoming the new daughter-in-law, due to poverty and hardship, the family shared a simple meal of soup from rice. However, we can see that Mildred had a heart full of tolerance and generosity for her new daughter-in-law. In the grim atmosphere of the famine in the XX century, the people in Elderhaven raised their heads high to breathe, in the faint scent of life. More than anyone, they were always aware that death was looming nearby. Not dying from illness or old age, but from hunger and thirst. Yet, William continued to work tirelessly, still finding joy in picking up a wife in these hard times. Arya, the woman, who came as a stranger to be his wife, learned how to be a responsible wife, and a good daughter-in-law, nurturing and caring for the home they had managed to create. As for Granny Mildred, even though she was acutely aware of their dire poverty, she still loved the daughter-in-law that her foolish son William had picked up. This is the first reflection of Stoicism philosophy, as the characters in the story are acutely aware of the impermanence, in the inevitable laws of all things. They know how to live for the present, similar to Stoicism philosophy reminding us that the past is gone, the future is yet to come, so experience each present moment to make life more meaningful. Reading the story of William and the picked-up wife, you can see the advice to focus on what one can control from Stoicism philosophy is immensely valuable. When life and death are determined by a meal, people tend to behave selfishly towards their fellow beings. However, the characters in the story don't do that, they treat each other with love, optimism, and a belief in life. Because they know this is something they can control. These small mirrors of Stoicism philosophy have illuminated invaluable life lessons in the story. If you find the content we've shared useful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to continue supporting us on this journey. Thank you for watching our video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next ones.